Hello and welcome to Actual English, everyone. I am Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 368, and let's move on, continue talking about families, part 3. Today, let's focus on double income families. Now, what do we mean by double income families? We're talking about families, okay, that have income from both members of the family. We're talking about husband and wife. So if the husband works and the wife works and they both have an income, well, they would be described as a double income family. Or one person may have two incomes. In that case, you could also call that family a double income family, okay? So let's talk about that today. Let's begin with actual talk.
These double income families of today, it was very different when I was young. My father was an entrepreneur. He was the main breadwinner. You know, my mother stayed at home and then worked. But yeah, very different. Times are changing. What about for you?
Me too. My mom stayed at home and she played games with me. I got a lot of attention. I was spoiled.
A good thing though, right?
But there came a time when she did have to go back to work and that changed my world. But I have a colleague that has 3 kids and she works.
Wow.
And I don't know how she does it, but it seems to be the norm these days.
It does. I just imagine sort of craziness of being so busy all the time and trying to manage work and house. And I don't know for the kids, what it is. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I mean, it's good to see your mum work and, you know, empower women. And
it is.
Then they need care and love and attention.
I feel a bit torn on that. I think that if you are financially blessed, that's great. But I notice Koreans have this wonderful system where as a family, grandmothers work together to make the family watch family. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
I know what I would love, but that takes money.
Yeah. But isn't it tiring for grandmothers and these old people?
Yeah.
And then from a young age, I think a little baby or a young toddler needs some sort of a bond with mum.
Definitely.
I think that's very important for future life. So it's a catch-22 situation. It's very hard to know what to do.
Absolutely, catch-22. Well, I think all mothers, if they had their way, they would have it all, be superwomen.
Yes.
But in reality, I guess we just deal with the cards that we're dealt, right?
Absolutely. It's very hard. Yeah. Who would be a mum, eh?
I'll do the best that we can.
Yeah.
All right, did you listen carefully to today's actual talk conversation? Well, we had Kelly and Gareth talking about double income families. Now, we do have double income families repeated in today's actual talk several times, and Gareth actually begins by talking about that. How these days we see many more double income families compared to years and years ago when we were perhaps a lot younger. So, here we go. Gareth begins by saying these double income families of today. Okay, let's first of all take a look at double income family. Okay, double means basically times 2. We're talking about double the amount of something. So we're basically talking about a household that has 2 incomes from either party. It can be the mom and the dad. Or as I even mentioned, even if one person, say for example the mom or the dad has 2 incomes, that family could be described as a double income family. But what's the point? The double income families of today, it was very different when I was young. He's talking about the difference, how it used to be very different when Gareth was young. He talks about his father, or rather his family. My father was an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. This is a tricky word to pronounce. An entrepreneur is a person who sets up businesses, who manages, or even establishes businesses, okay? So his father was an entrepreneur. He was the main breadwinner. Okay, this may be a new word to many of you as well. Breadwinner. Bread, yes, we're talking about bread that we often buy at bakeries, right? Bang, that's true. Winner, the person who wins something, gains something, brings home the bread, which means what? The breadwinner is basically the person who earns money to support the family. So the person that makes money, for example. Let's say, for example, your mom works and your dad stays at home. Okay, your mother would be the breadwinner. If your mother stays at home and your father works and he earns money to support the family, then your father would be the breadwinner. He earns money to buy bread to feed his family. That's where it comes from, breadwinner, the person who earns money to support the family. So he was the main breadwinner, And my mother stayed at home. So his mother did what? Well, she stayed at home while his father was the breadwinner. He was earning money to support the family. And he asks, what about for you? Okay, he asks Kelly how it was with her family. She says, me too. My mom stayed at home. So she stayed at home and she played games with me. All right. I got a lot of attention. So a lot of her mother's attention was on who? Of course, on Kelly, on her little girl. And Kelly says, I was spoiled. Here we go. That's a vocab word for today as well. Now, we often say that children are spoiled. That girl is spoiled. He's spoiled. Or don't spoil your children, right? Okay. Now, if you spoil your child, it means that you're giving him or her everything she wants. You're buying him everything he wants. You're letting her do everything she wants to do. Okay, you're spoiling your child. And this is actually, in the end, very bad for your child. People say so. Yeah, just doing everything for your child just because he or she wants something or wants to do something is spoiling your child. But she was spoiled because, I guess, all of her mother's attention was on Kelly and she got everything she wanted. Okay, now here we go. A good thing though, right? Well, from Kelly's perspective, it could be a good thing. Maybe because she got everything she wanted. Anyhow, here we go. Kelly says, but there came a time when she did have to go back to work. Aha. So we're talking about Kelly's mother. She did stay at home to take care of Kelly, but there came a time, okay? Eventually, she did have to go back to work, okay? And that changed my world, meaning that it changed things greatly. If you say something changed my world, you're saying that a lot of changes were made, or several of those changes were so great that things were very different. So, but I have a colleague that has 3 kids and she works. Okay, so she's talking about a friend of hers. Wow, that's amazing, right? And I don't know how she does it. If you say, I don't know how somebody does something, you're just emphasizing that this person is doing something very difficult. You're saying that if I were to be in his shoes or her shoes, I don't think I would be able to do it. How is she doing it? Well, I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she has 3 children and she does it all on her own. But it seems to be the norm these days. Here we go. The norm. If you say that something is the norm, you're saying that it's kind of the standard. It's so common. It's something that everybody does. It's no surprise. If you can't remember what the norm means, try to remember the word normal. Okay, normal. Okay, normal. Okay, relate those 2 words. So something that is considered very standard and normal is the norm. Okay, so it happens everywhere. It's kind of become the norm these days. It does. I just imagine sort of the craziness of being so busy all the time and trying to manage work and house. So what is Gareth talking about? He's talking about having to work and having children and a family to support. So he's saying, yeah, it must be difficult. It has to be crazy, meaning just, insane, very difficult. Why? Because you're busy all the time and what you're trying to manage, what? House and work. Many things. You're juggling several things at the same time. And he says, I don't know for the kids, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? So, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? He's not quite sure. So he's asking Kelly what she thinks about this. Is it a good thing or a bad thing for parents to be so busy working and taking care of the children at the same time? Well, he says, it's good to see your mom work. Yeah, it's good to see your mom work because she has a life of her own. But he says, then they need care. They also need love. They need attention. Now, we are talking about children. When children are growing up, especially when they're very young, they do need their parents, especially their mother's care and love and all of her attention. So this is what he's saying. But for the mom, it's great for the mom to be working, to have a career. That's a wonderful thing. Here we go. I feel a bit torn on that. This is Kelly's answer. So the question was, is it a good thing or a bad thing for the kids, for the mom to be busy at work? And if she's not able to focus on her children, is it good or bad? She says, I feel a bit torn on that. We went over torn, I think a while ago. Now, if you say that you are torn on something or between things, you're saying that it is hard for you to make a decision, okay? You're not quite sure if it's good or bad, if it's this or that. You're undecided. You cannot decide. So she's saying, I don't know. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I'm torn on that. I think that if you are financially blessed, meaning lucky, if you have a lot of money or you don't have any financial problems, that's great. It's good. But I noticed Koreans have this wonderful system. Now she's talking about a particular system where, as a family, grandmothers work together to watch family. So grandmothers, what do? They help out. They watch the family. They watch the kids, take care of the kids. And she says, I don't know what I would do. I know what I would love. Okay, now she's talking about what she would appreciate in her situation. But what's the problem? That takes money. Meaning, well, I know what I would like. I know what I would prefer to do, but it's going to cost me money, she says. It takes money. Yeah, but isn't it tiring for grandmothers? Isn't it tiring for grandmothers, these old people? It could be tiring. Very difficult for grandmothers, of course. And then from a young age, I think a little baby or a young toddler needs some sort of a bond with mom. So what's the point here? Let's mark the most important words here. For example, first of all, it's very tiring for who? For grandmothers to take care of children. They're old. Their bones are becoming very weak. And yet children are running around. Grandmas are trying to pick up their grandchildren, give them piggyback. It's bad for their health, their bones. So it's very tiring, exhausting for grandmothers, right? And he says from a young age, for example, for little babies or young toddlers, they need to kind of bond with their moms. They need a bond with mom. They need to connect with their moms. They need to build a relationship, a close relationship with their moms, which is true. Toddler, Toddler. We're talking about little babies, okay? Toddlers are usually ages 1 to about 2.5. So babies that are just beginning to crawl and just beginning to walk, they're called toddlers, okay? So he's focusing on little babies and toddlers, how they need to bond, get close with their mothers. I think that's very important for future life. So, it's a catch-22 situation. Catch-22 is often spelled with a capital C as well, okay? So you will see catch-22 written with a capital C, a big C, also a small c. But what is a catch-22? All right. A catch-22 is a very difficult situation, okay? Where one thing needs to be done in order to do the second thing, okay? But it's not very easy. For example, people say, okay, I'll support you if you are successful. But then again, you have to be successful for people to support you. Okay, is it tricky? Anyhow, a catch-22 situation is where many things have to be done, okay? It's a difficult situation. We'll practice more later on with actual expressions, okay? Anyhow, you say it's a difficult situation. It's a catch-22 situation. It's very hard to know what to do, okay? All right, and then let's move on. Kelly says, absolutely catch-22. Well, I think all mothers, okay, if they had their way, meaning if they could do the things they wanted to do, okay, if they had the opportunity or the ability to choose what they wanted to do, they would have it all, okay, they would have it all. They'd be lucky, be superwoman. But in reality, I guess we just deal with the cards that we're dealt with. Deal with the cards that were dealt with or dealt. What does this mean? This basically means that you have to deal with the situation you are in, the situation you are given, the given situation. And that about brings us to an end to today's conversation. Garrett seems to agree it's very hard. Now, who would be a mom? Okay. Now, well, do the best that we can. As a woman, as a mother, and I guess, yeah, we have no other choice but to do the best that we can. Okay, let's take a listen to the conversation one more time.
These double income families of today, it was very different when I was young. My father was an entrepreneur. He was the main breadwinner. You know, my mother stayed at home and then worked. But yeah, very different. Times are changing. What about for you?
Me too. My mom stayed at home and she played games with me. I got a lot of attention. I was spoiled.
A good thing though, right?
But there came a time when she did have to go back to work and that changed my world. But I have a colleague that has 3 kids and she works. Wow. And I don't know how she does it, but it seems to be the norm these days.
It does. I just imagine sort of craziness of being so busy all the time and trying to manage work and house and I don't know for the kids what it is. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I mean, it's good to see your mum work and you know, empower women and
it is.
Then they need care and love and attention.
I feel a bit torn on that. I think that if you are financially blessed, that's great. But I notice Koreans have this wonderful system where as a family, grandmothers work together to make the family watch family. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
I know what I would love, but that takes money.
Yeah. But isn't it tiring for grandmothers and these old people?
Yeah.
And then from a young age, I think a little baby or a young toddler needs some sort of a bond with mum.
Definitely.
I think that's very important for future life. So it's a catch-22 situation. It's very hard to know what to do.
Absolutely, catch-22. Well, I think all mothers, if they had their way, they would have it all, be superwomen.
Yes.
But in reality, I guess we just deal with the cards that we're dealt, right?
Absolutely. It's very hard. Yeah. Who would be a mum, eh?
I'll do the best that we can.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's quickly take you through the vocab words and the idioms, the phrases we learned today in today's actual talk conversation. It's time for actual expressions. Okay, here we go. Entrepreneur. I told you this is a tricky word to pronounce, so here we go. Now, notice the stress goes on the last syllable, on the 4th syllable, and it is entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. One more time, stress goes right there. Entrepreneur. Okay, we're talking about a person that manages or even sets up businesses. So an executive, manager, founder would be a good synonym. What about breadwinner? Here we go. This is easy, right? Breadwinner, the person who brings home the bread. The person who earns money to support the family. We're talking about a job holder or even wage earner, okay? But breadwinner, yes, do remember this word. Spoiled. Children can be spoiled. Pets can be spoiled, okay? It's not good to do that, but anyhow, if you spoil your child, you are letting them do whatever they want to do, giving them everything they want. So self-indulgent. Spoon-fed is another informal synonym for spoiled. Moving on, torn. If you say that you are torn between things or torn on something, you're saying that you are undecided. You cannot make a decision, okay? So split, wavering, uncertain, even unsure. This is because you have not made a decision. Torn. Toddler. Toddler is a child, an infant, youngster, as I told you. Ages 1 to about 2.5, okay? We call them toddlers. What about bond? It's a verb, okay? To bond with someone means to build a close relationship with, a connection with someone. So relation, association, connection would be bond in the noun form. And to connect would be to bond in the verb form, okay? Now moving on to double income families. That is our topic for today. I told you what it means. Let's check out a sample sentence. I admire my friends who come from double income families. Now this is if you admire your friends' families, your friends' parents that both work, you could say, I admire my friends who come from double income families. Or even your friends may work, right? Okay. But if you would rather prefer a family where the mom stays home, you would probably not say this. Okay, moving on to our next one. Catch-22. We're talking about a difficult, a bad, very frustrating situation where one thing needs to be done in order for the second thing to be done. Here we go with a sample sentence. I locked my keys in my car. This is a serious catch-22. Okay, why? Because you need keys to open the car door, okay? But then again, in order to get keys to the door, you need to get inside the car. So it's a situation, a very frustrating one, where one thing needs to be done to do the second thing, okay? All right, that is a wrap for today's actual expressions. Practice them more on your own.